Okay, here we are, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. Yeah, about a 2.5 hour long movie. I just got out of the theater about 20 or so minutes ago. Had to go to a 3:30 in the afternoon screening because that was basically the only window that was available to me at the time. So, yeah, I have not eaten, so I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as I possibly can. So starting things off, the film starts in 1980. Basically, we see Star-Lord's father, mother and father. They're driving through the countryside. They're listening to Brandy from Looking Glass. Basically, Heather Quill knows that Star-Lord's father is from outer space. It's at that point we jump to the present, where the Guardians are hired by a group called the Sovereign to defend their ancient power batteries they used to, like I said, power their empire. As they're fighting the beast, Baby Groot cues up Mr. Blue Sky by Electric Light Orchestra and dances basically throughout the whole battle, and that's the opening title sequence. At the end of the battle, they kill the beast, obviously, and it's revealed that they really did this so that they could get Nebula and claim the bounty on her. In the midst of this, too, Rocket winds up stealing some of the power batteries from the Sovereign, and they wind up chasing the Guardians as they leave the planet. The chase goes through an asteroid field. They just barely make it out, but some Sovereign basically went around the asteroid field and are coming after them. And then suddenly the ships just all run into this big force field. It's piloted by, and the Rocket sees a ship piloted by a tiny guy. That ship guides the Guardians to an uninhabited planet, and it's there that they meet Peter Quill, Star-Lord's father, Ego. Ego takes Peter, Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax. Ego is actually accompanied by Mantis, and they leave the planet. It's then we go to a subplot. You go to this kind of cantina bar planet where Yondu and his Ravager crew are, and it's revealed that they have been excommunicated from the Ravagers because Ego had dispatched Yondu to get his son, and Ravagers are not supposed to deal in transporting children. That's sort of a rule, and they violated it, and violated it multiple times, actually. It's that point we actually have a Howard the Duck cameo, too. He's in a bar hitting on a woman. That's where Sylvester Stallone's character of, I think is, just like I wrote it down here somewhere. Yeah. Shakhtar Ogard. Oh, no. Stalker Ogard. Sorry. Stalker Ogard shows up and basically chews Yondu out. Then the Sovereign come to Yondu and say, hey, we need you to capture the Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll give you 1 million credits or something like that. So, turns out Yondu had actually stashed a homing device on the Milano. They went after it. They go after it. They go after Groot, Gamora, Baby Groot, Gamora, and Rocket. However, Gamora basically gets freed by Baby Groot to save Rocket. She shoots Yondu, and this kind of spurs the other Ravagers to mutiny. They're not happy they got excommunicated. Turns out what Yondu wasn't even planning on turning Rocket over to the Sovereign. He wanted to try to get another bounty that was actually less than what the Sovereign were going to pay, which, yeah, it doesn't really make a lick of sense if you think about it. Anyway, back on Ego's planet, which is also named Ego, because Ego claims that he is a Celestial who basically got the ability to create his own manner and create his own life. Nebula breaks... Okay, sorry. He goes and tries to start bonding with Peter. Peter is reticent at first, but slowly they start to bond. Ego actually reveals that Peter can channel abilities from his celestial part, and they actually play catch with this like kind of ball of energy that Peter is able to create. Back with the Ravagers, Nebula kind of breaks off from them and starts heading towards Ego's planet because she wants revenge on Gamora. On Ego's planet, which again is called Ego. Yeah, I know. from the comics. It is Ego, the living planet. Mantis kind of bonds with Drax and sort of starts to mention something, but Gamora interrupts them. Back on the Ravager ship, the Ravagers start exporting, basically are executing anyone who is still loyal to Yondu. They're catapulting them out into space, except for Yondu and Groot. Or not Groot, well, Groot is in there too, but Rocket, sorry. They are put in a cell briefly, and they get Groot drunk, but Rocket is still able to kind of get in contact with Groot, and they start sending him over to get this new prototype fin with the arrow attached to it. You know, that's Yondu's ability, where he channels energy through the fin to whistle to the arrow, and that way he can control it where it goes. He has a new one because the old one got blown off by Nebula. And they keep sending Groot back and forth because Groot doesn't understand what he's going for. First he grabs Yondu's underwear, then he grabs a desk, he grabs, I think, a bottle of beer at some point. Eventually, someone who's still loyal to Yondu manages to help Groot out, and they break free. Anyway, the whole time, like, Gamora is starting to get really suspicious of Ego. She has a fight with Star-Lord. It kind of storms off, and it's that point that Nebula arrives and they start fighting with Gamora until there's a point where Nebula's ship crashes and Gamora actually moves to save Nebula rather than let her die. And that kind of finally quells everything between them. And it's at this point that Star-Lord learns what Ego's ultimate plan is. He wants to remake the universe. He needs someone like him, someone who's a Celestial. So he traveled around the universe fathering children, but he couldn't find one who was just right until Peter came along, because Peter was able to hold the Infinity Gem that was in the first movie. And because he can hold the Infinity Gem, it basically realized, okay, you are the most powerful one. We're going to remake the universe. And in the midst of this, he basically reveals that he did love Peter's mother, but at the same time, he knew that if he went and visited her one more time, he would never make it back. So basically, when Ego leaves the planet, that being can wither and die if he's away for too long. So he has to constantly travel back and forth. He said, if I traveled one more time, I knew I was going to come back and I'd never be able to follow through with my plan. So I gave her the brain tumor that wound up killing her. Basically, this kind of severs any chance of Star-Lord helping them. As this has happened, Yondu and Rocket and Groot and their partners... Unfortunately, this is one of the major drawbacks of the movie. Some of the names go by real fast. I didn't quite catch on to what they were named. Anyway, they're using a special... They're trying to go through the jump tunnels and everything, and they have to go through 700, and you're not even supposed to go through more than 50 to get to Ego. As they're flying by, they fly by Stan Lee as sort of an astronaut talking to 3 Watchers. If you know anything about the Watchers in the Marvel Universe, they, well, watch things. The most famous being Uatu, who's actually interfered on a few occasions where he's come down and he alerted everyone to Galactus. Uatu plays a big role with the Fantastic Four. But as I said, Stan Lee's sitting there, he's telling them everything, and I think he's explaining all of his cameos in the Marvel Universe movies. So that's kind of funny. Anyway, Yondu and Rocket arrive on Ego. As they're trying to help plan the way to finally defeat Ego, the Sovereign also arrive. Eventually, the Guardians, Rocket comes up with the idea of using the Sovereign's batteries that he has to make a bomb, and then they need to go into Ego's core to blow him up. Basically, and the only way they can do it is to send Groot in there. They and the other Guardians need to run distractions. As they're running around doing this, basically, Star-Lord says, okay, you guys need to start getting off the planet now. You're not going to get any other chance to get off of this. As this is happening, Gamora actually channels part of a ship's defense systems through her body, and that's able to actually blow up all of the other Sovereign ships. The Sovereign ships are really weird because they're remote controlled, basically. They're all controlled on the Sovereign planet, so they're not piloted in real life. So it looks like these big arcades and people screaming like they're, you know, at like a League of Legends or something like that. Anyway, eventually Yondu's down on the planet with Peter. Basically, Yondu took Peter, realized what was happening with Ego, and didn't want to turn Peter over to him. He knew better than to do that. So he made up business of saying, well, you're small and you're easy to hide, so you make a good thief. And that was the reason why he kept him around. Eventually, Groot manages to set the timer on the bomb. They get away, except for Peter and Yondu and Ego, and they're all Peter and Star-Lord and Ego are fighting. At one point, Star-Lord actually transforms into Pac-Man and chomps down on Ego. And then the bomb starts to go off. The planet starts to explode. Yondu basically has the little rocket flight suits that they use and the protective thing they use to fly through space and breathe. And Yondu basically grabs Peter as everything starts exploding and starts taking off. He slaps the little space protector field on Peter, and Yondu himself winds up sacrificing himself to save Peter, or Star-Lord. That's basically how it ends. Well, there's one more thing with just before the end credits. The other word kind of gets out. They, I think it was Rocket, got word to some of the other Ravagers what had happened, and they admired it enough that they sort of re-induct Yondu and hold a special funeral for him. And that's how it ends, except then we go through the end credits, and there's a lot in the end credits we have to go through here. So first off, we have Yondu's protege trying to use the fin and the arrow. It kind of starts getting it until he blows a little too hard, until he whistles a little too hard. You know, zips off it, drills Drax straight in the collarbone. It's at that point that Stakar Ogord basically holds kind of like a Ravagers reunion and says, okay, Yondu started to do things right, but they're still kind of doing bad things. Like, that was a little too superfluous. As the credits are rolling throughout this, various crew members have I Am Groot as their name, and then it changes and translates it to the actual name of the crew member, which was kind of cool. And then we get the next big thing. We go back to the Sovereign planet, and the Sovereigns say, and the ruler of the Sovereign's like, we've exhausted everything. We have no more weapons. We have to do this. I have acquired this. I have modified it. I am creating the perfect being to take out the Guardians of the Galaxy, to conquer this universe. And it's the Warlock pod. The Adam, and it says, I will name him Adam. It's Adam Warlock. That's the big thing. Whether that's going to be in Guardians 3 or Avengers Infinity War, not entirely sure. If you don't know who Adam Warlock is, basically he's kind of the Jesus Christ of the Marvel Universe. Don't worry, I have the Warlock Volume 1 of the Warlock Masterworks. We'll probably be covering him on a Random Trade Review at some point. And then we have, let's see, two more. We have two more end credit sequence. Sorry, there's another one where Star-Lord walks into Groot's room, and now it's no longer Baby Groot, it's Teen Groot, and he's got stuff all over there. He wants to listen to music. Kind of throughout this, something I forgot to mention, Star-Lord's Walkman gets destroyed, but Yondu managed to find a Zune with 300 songs on it, and now, Groot is playing with the Zune all the time. As a teenager, sorry. And then we get one final end credit sequence, and that is Stanley with the Watchers again, and the Watchers have grown bored. They walk off, and Stan's like, hey, can I get a ride off of this thing? And that's it. Okay, so I guess in my my long rambling there, like I said, I haven't eaten. I'm giving this movie an A. This was really enjoyable. Maybe not as quite as enjoyable as the first one. Still thoroughly enjoyable. I think it was a lot more personal story, I think, than the first one was. The first one was a lot more kind of grandiose in action, sort of a grand space opera. I think this was more of a quiet, introspective type of movie. So yeah, A. Okay, trailer time. Mostly new trailers this time through. First off, we have 47 Meters Down, about two women who are in a shark cage where the cable breaks and they get stuck underwater. It kind of reminds me of, I think it was called The Shallows. That was the big shark movie last year. It was the one surfer girl gets stuck on the buoy out in the ocean and she's surrounded by shark, or at least one shark. After that we have Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, I think is what it was called. Or is it? Well, it's the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean movie. That's our one repeat trailer. Well, actually, we had another repeat trailer, and that was Cars 3. Then we finally have a Wonder Woman trailer. Didn't have that before anything else, I think, at least in the movies I've seen this year. Then we have The Mummy, which looks bad. The attempt to launch the Universal Monsters universe. So, yeah. I would say maybe wait till HBO on that one if you're really interested. And last but not least, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Okay, well, the next movie I intend to go see should be Alien Covenant. Next video is going to be the random trade review on the Sentry. Sorry, God, I'm hungry, folks. I'm sorry. Like I said, it's going to be the random trade review on the Sentry. There's going to be the 3-week break, again, in between random trade reviews. Basically, if I did the 2-week break like I normally do, that would be coinciding with not only the release of Alien Covenant, but NXT TakeOver Chicago and WWE Backlash, and that would be putting 4 videos out in 3 days, and that just seems a little excessive. So, see you all next time.